Hi, Ask an RTC here, and in this video, we'll be going over what is essentially free days off of work you can get from every command that you go to whenever you have a permanent change of duty station. Now, what that means is when you go from one duty station to another that you're permanently assigned to. As we see here from this information of MILPERSMAN 1320 TAC 210, which can be found on mynavyhr.navy.mil, which is a website that's open to the public. You don't need any special access to get on there, just the internet access and Google, and you'll be able to find this and review it yourself. But we're going to go over some of it here. So this instruction states for permissive temporary duty, or PTDY, for house hunting. And this is called what people call house hunting leave. But every time you see PTDY, it is permissive temporary duty because it's technically not leave. What it is they're putting on you a temporary assigned duty, which will be at no cost orders. So whenever you go to school or when you're attached to a command and they send you to school to have you come back, those would be cost orders, for example. There's other ones as well, but this is considered no cost orders. Because what they're allowing you to do is take time off to go and look for a house. So let's say you go to your new duty station and you want to take time off outside of the time given you when you go from one duty station to another, or the time wasn't enough. They'll allow you time, which would be similar to leave, because leave is like paid days off, but you won't be spending any leave days, and that's why people call it free leave. So continuing on here, the intent of the housing hunting permissive temporary duty authorization, as stated in reference A, is permit service members time away from their present permanent duty station geographical area to establish housing within the area of the new PDS at a designated place when movement of dependents to a designated place is authorized under reference B paragraph, and so forth. Now, I'm not going to read every word for word from this. It is a short instruction, but I am going to read some of it word for word just so there's no miscommunication, and I'm going to explain it. And this is going to be a shorter video than having to read it all. So in short, that's just explaining what the whole purpose of this instruction is, this MILPERSMAN. So on to general policy, it short says that it's under the authority of the commanding officer. So when you route a request chit to receive these quote-unquote free leave days, it's going to go all the way up to the CO. And it states further down in Section A, maybe authorize up to 5 normal working days prior to execution of a PCS move or a permanent change of station move. The normal 5 working days can be any work days prior to checking out from the command as long as PCS orders have been issued. May be authorized after reporting to the gaining command when the government quarters are not immediately available, or if available are not required to be occupied by the gaining command, and the period which they extended to a total of 10 calendar days when combined with weekends, holidays, and liberty. So what it's stating is it's covering 5 working days. But if you start it on a Wednesday, that's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which are 3 days. The weekend doesn't count against you. And then you have Monday, Tuesday. So in total, that would be 7 working days, or 7 days off, including 5 working days. When you combine it with, sometimes when you do it over like a holiday in itself, as long those holidays would not be considered working days as deemed by the command, would they be days off? So you can combine it with that as well. But this covers up to 10 calendar days if you do it with the weekends, holidays, and normal liberty time. So there are some times where they have guaranteed weekends, where maybe if you have a Friday off if you have duty on Sunday, or you have Monday off if you have duty on Saturday. So those Fridays or Mondays would not count as working days. So those would also work towards 5 working days plus days off, which is 8, and there's a holiday, you can work up to 10. So this is supposed to maximize the time off of work, and not necessarily time that's already allotted to you through liberty, whether it be the weekend or a guaranteed weekend, or time during a holiday, which that would be already allotted to you for days off, unless it's your duty day, but this also encompasses duty days. Now, moving on to eligibility. Service members eligible for PTDY under this article are those receiving PCS orders and are not authorized to occupy non-government quarters at their new PDS, or assigned to unusually arduous sea duty, which would be considered recruit division commander, for example. Unaccompanied tours overseas who wish to relocate their families to designated places within the continental United States, or an approved designated place outside of the continental United States. So that means that they would go to a ship or a command in which they're not going with their dependents. So they were given time off so they can move their dependents to a specific area to where they want them to live while they're going unaccompanied. Vessel, ship-based staff, or in a float-based mobile unit which has change of home port. So that would mean that you're going to a ship and then it moves from one home port to another. For example, if it moved from California and San Diego to Yokosuka, Japan. So the ship itself is no longer stationed in San Diego. It's now stationed in Yokosuka, Japan in this example. So they would be given time to move their family. or a shore-based mobile unit which has change of permanent duty station location, which is the same as before, but this is a shore-based location, which is more of a mobile unit, and but not a ship in specifically. But one thing you should take apart from this is specifically it's talking about when you have permanent change of station orders, so PCS orders. So permanent duty station. So if you're going to, say, from boot camp, and from boot camp you go to a school, those are temporary or orders en route. Especially if it's a short term of orders. Most schools are no more than 6 months in total before you go to your next command. So less than 180 days is what you're looking at. There are some commands, for example, if you're going to be a nuke rate of sorts, or it would be many years, those times they'll be offered to you to move your family out there with you. However, for most times, if you have a school en route or if it's a temporary orders, then you can't move your family during that time. It won't be allotted to you. So in that case, it'll explain later how you'll be able to move your family once you get to your new command and utilize this instruction to your favor. In the next section, under specific policy, it explains sometimes that when you move, you'll have the opportunity to utilize this instruction, and then the command will move again, will utilize you to use instruction again, in which case the instruction applies the same way for 5 considered working days, and with a total of 10 calendar days. And then the last part, it states that may not be combined with PCS funded or temporary duty travel, except for detailed in paragraph below, which we're about to cover. But in short, it's stating that you cannot take leave and then take your house hunting leave, or for this example, this instruction. You can do both, but you can't do them in conjunction, which means, let's say if you take the leave, house hunting leave, or these using this MILPERS instruction, you take the 10 days and then you don't check back into your command, you continue on leave, or you utilize it in conjunction with your travel leave from one station to another, which is authorized to you. What it's saying is you have to fully check back into the command before you can either start one or the other. So you do your house hunting leave, check back into the command, and then commence your leave, or you take your normal leave, whether it be travel leave or leave that you're taking on your own, then you check back into the command and then utilize this leave. So it's not letting you combine the two. Just you have to check in before you can check back out again. Now, for the exception detailed in paragraph 5 below, if the new PDS is changed after the member's house hunting PTDY, an additional PTDY period may be authorized at the discretion of the transferring intermediate or receiving command. The PTDY period may not be taken between PDS or TDY commands. So in short, what it's saying that is if you do your house hunting leave and then they confirm a new change of command, you'll be authorized again when in conjunction with your transfer itself. So this next part is quite important. So travel and transportation cost policy. In short, what it's going to say is that while you do this PTDY period, in which, or house hunting leave, if you will, again, it states that all travel done during this TAD period must be funded under the service member, which means you, if you're utilizing this MILPERSMAN in order to do house hunting leave, then all costs will be under you. It's not going to be funded by the command. Once again, this is considered, again, no cost temporary assigned duty or TAD orders. So if you're going to take house hunting leave and you need to fly somewhere or do a lot of traveling, or if you end up driving somewhere for gas and then you stay in a hotel where you're checking out houses and you come back, that's all going to be utilized under your paycheck. So there are free days off. However, any time or any money spent while you're utilizing this TAD orders or these free house hunting leave is going to be under your bill. The command will not pay you back for that. The Navy in general will not pay you back for that. So if you're going to be looking anywhere, either buy a house or just find a new place for you to live that's more temporary, maybe you have like a permanent setup in an apartment or a friend's house or family member's house that lives in that area, and you're using that in this time for you to be able to find a place that's more permanent for you and your dependents, then, or you yourself, if you don't have dependents but you're above a certain pay grade, then it would be for on your own dime, with the exception of that you won't be paying leave days for this. So there's still a benefit. However, the Navy's not going to cover that in a sense of travel cost, because if you're going from one command to another and you document the travel necessary for you to go from one command to another, say you have school in California and you're being stationed in Virginia, of course, the military is going to offer a way which to move you out there and your family. But if you end up utilizing a way to move yourself out there, you document all those costs, and there will be a coverage fee for that. I'll make another video about that more in detail. But the coverage fee is going to be for gas spent if you drove and hotels you stayed in to get along the way. It's not going to cover if you decide to go to Disneyland along the way, it's not going to cover for that. But I'll make another video going more in detail about that for travel and PCS and going to your permanent duty station from a temporary duty station or permanent duty station to permanent duty station. Here under PTDY policy as new permanent duty station, it explains three things. One, it states that this is not to be utilized in Section A between duty stations. So it won't be authorized between duty stations. Any time taken between duty stations, there is going to be travel leave that's allotted to you, which it's leave that's not counted against your leave that you have saved up. And utilizing this in between duty stations is not where it's going to be active. It's going to be active at your current duty station or your next duty station, which leads into Section B, which states that if you're not authorized at the current duty station you're at to take this leave or these temporary orders for house hunting leave, MILPERSMAN, then you can utilize it at the next command within 90 days of checking in that command. And the reason for that being is if you're at a temporary assigned duty, for example, let's say you're at a schoolhouse that you're only there for a little bit before you get to your ultimate command, which is either the ship or station you're going to, they will usually not authorize the leave at that command. What they'll recommend is that you take it at your command when you get there. And that way you can reach out to your command ahead of time, tell them that you plan on taking this, utilizing this MILPERSMAN and taking this quote unquote house hunting leave. Once again, I'm using house hunting leave, but it's not real leave, but it's just what everyone calls it. Taking this house hunting leave so that you can, when you get to the command, you check in, you route it, and you utilize that time to make sure that you set up you and your family properly, you and your dependents. And the last part states that if necessary, in which they can authorize these TAD orders, the CO has permission just to give you special liberty, which is just they are just going to give you days off and for you to take care of what you need to take care of to set up your housing situation. Section 12 here goes over those that are not eligible for this house hunting leave. One thing in Section 1 that I stated before, new accessions onto active duty. This applies to sailors who have not reported to their first permanent duty station. So this is like what I just said before. If you're in a schoolhouse and you're on your way to your first duty station, right? You went to boot camp, you went to your school, and then you're applying to, or you're arriving at your duty station, your first ship or your duty. If it is a ship, there are not necessarily you're going to go to a ship on your first station. What it's stating that they're not going to let you do it at the schoolhouse. What they're going to do is they're going to tell you to report to your next duty station or your permanent duty station. And then you can utilize that time for you to set up your family, household goods, and whatnot. If you're being voluntarily released from active duty, retiring, however, there are some times in which retiring does not apply in the sense that you will be authorized to take this leave or house hunting leave in the MILPERSMAN with retiring. In most cases, it's not going to be supported, but there are some times, and that's in a different instruction. It's quotes here for 1320 TAC 220, and once again, we're looking at 1320 TAC 210. To get more specific on 4, being voluntarily released from active duty after participating in a skill bridge program. So a skill bridge program is when you're about to leave the Navy, and what you do is you take time, which is also considered a temporary duty orders. It's not going to be leave. Say you're getting out of the Navy and you're going to go into another skill or craft in which that company is hiring you, and once as you get out of the Navy and you want to take time to get up to speed with that company, maybe your internship or it's time on the company, whether it's paid or not, but it's for you to start that company right away. And what they're going to do is to give you 30 to 60 days, depending on your command, which you can report to that company while you're still in active duty service. But this is near the end of your contract. So you're looking at, you have maybe a few months left of your contract. And then you go out there and you perform the time to get up to speed with that new job. So when you get out, you've already practically started that job. What it's saying is it will not be in conjunction with this. Receiving PCS order to continue medical treatment, transferred overseas to oversiege when dependents must vacate the government quarters but remain at or in vicinity of the former overseas PDS. And what that's saying is if you were going to go from one overseas command to another overseas command, and there's no authorization for your family to move with you to that next overseas command. So it would be, in a sense, another geobatch orders or orders in which you're unaccompanied with your dependents. If you're not authorized the ability to move dependents with you, and in short, they're going to stay where they are, you're not going to utilize this instruction for it. Requires to occupy government quarters at their new PDS, which states that you're not going to, once again, move your family, and wherever you go is going to be unaccompanied orders, and they're saying that you have to stay in government quarters also known as barracks. There's other versions, but in short, barracks. And you're not going to be able to move your family, so they're not going to utilize these orders for you to move your family. Can you still move your family if you want to? You want to move them from state to state or whatever the situation is. Of course, you still can, but you just can't utilize this instruction for free days off to do that. 8 stands for transferred within the local area as defined by the following criteria. So both old and new PDSs are located within the corporate limits of the same city or town. Service member will continue to commute between the current residence and the new permanent duty station, or the CO determined that the home and the new PDS are located within a reasonable commuting distance of each other. So what they're saying is, let's say if you are living in an area, say for example, San Diego, California. You're working on a ship in San Diego, California, and then you end up having orders to go to shore duty, and that shore duty is in San Diego, California. So they're not going to give you the ability to utilize this instruction to move your family. Do you want to? If you want to move your family, of course, you still are authorized to move your family. You're always authorized to move your family wherever you want. However, in order to utilize this instruction to have free days off to go ahead and procure an area for your family, it doesn't to the benefit of this instruction. And also if the commanding officer sees that it's within the same geographical area or deems it so, then it's really not going to be approved. It's pretty lenient when it comes to that idea. So if it is necessary for you to move your family for this job, they're going to. But if you end up still working in the same city, they're not going to let you utilize this instruction for free days off to move your family. And last two are have already established housing in the new permanent duty station geographical area. So what that means is if you're reporting to your new duty station and then you already have your family living in that area, they're not going to allow you to take these days off for free in accordance with this instruction to move your family because they're already in the area. So there's no benefit to this instruction of that situation. And also relocate independent, presently located within the old permanent duty station geographical area to another location within the old permanent duty station geographical area, which is kind of a repeat, but more of a specification when it comes to what is or is not allowed. Just stating that if you're going to move them and you're literally moving them down the street to a new apartment complex just because you don't like that apartment complex anymore, or they're not charging fair rates anymore, whatever the situation is, you need to move them, right? Or you're moving out of an apartment and you bought a house and you're moving up. They're not going to allow for this instruction to go with that because you're still in the same permanent duty station area. So the definition of geographical area for the purpose of this article, permanent duty station geographic area is the corporate limits of a city or town where the permanent duty station is located and ordinarily serviced by the same local transportation system where service members could reasonably commute daily from home to permanent duty station. So in short, if you're going to move from city to city or county to county that's right next to each other and you're still within the same area of the permanent duty station, then they're just explaining that what is a geographical area for this information. And that's all I have for MILPERSMAN 1320 TAC 210. Permissive temporary duty for house hunting, or also known as house hunting leave that we call in the Navy. Hope this gives you a little bit more information. Hopefully you can utilize this as well if you end up joining the military, and you can use it for some free days off to make sure you take care of you and your dependents and spend time with them. Let me know if you have any more questions in the comments. Hooyah Navy.